Hello everybody, it's me, Get Dave Dio, and it's time for channel update time, March 2017 edition, with some Zelda Breath of the Wild B-roll footage. Most of this month has pretty much been devoted to Zelda Breath of the Wild. We did wrap up Master of Orion 2 Super Duper Impossible, and aside from modding, I don't think there's a way to make that game harder, so probably done with it for a little while. Master of Orion 2 in the bag. Anyway, Breath of the Wild's probably going to go for all of April as well. And then after that, kind of a lull. Like there is, as often happens with Let's Playing in my experience, there's like a glut of a whole bunch of games at once and then a little bit of a dip. So, unless Endless Space 2 comes out, there might be a little bit of a break. So that means it's a good time to make a submission or a request or an order. Time to cash in your Get Dave points, everybody. There's a new Fire Emblem coming out kind of soon. That's a decent candidate. Comes out at roughly the right time. We could always go back and check out the list. I was flirting with the idea of doing a Kingdom Hearts game. I know some people, the 4X crowd, man, they would hate Kingdom Hearts. Some people are like, I only like it when you do serious games, like Master of Orion 2 with pterodactyl people going to war with cat people. That's hard sci-fi. I don't know. Some people don't see it as cartoony. Anyway, I even had one person who was like, I don't care for cartoony and lighthearted games like Final Fantasy Tactics. It's like, oh my goodness, if that's lighthearted, I want to see that new comedy, A Clockwork Orange, or The Departed. Funny movies. It's like, my goodness. Maybe Journey is another one I was thinking about. I'm just perusing the list, which I might redo for 2017. I usually redo it on getdave.com every year. Anyway, that's the plan for the channel. Thanks for watching. And again, April's probably going to be Zelda month, but after that, there could be a wonderful opening. In MISC gaming culture news, I didn't talk about this last month and should have, but Steam is in the process of abolishing Greenlight, which is of interest because I made a company called Reclamation Games, and we're working on a video game that presumably would have used that process. They're pitching coming up with a $100 to $5,000 submission fee as a barrier for entry, and a lot of people are like, that's terrible. I'm totally cool with it, to be honest. If you sink the thousands of hours required into video game development to make a product, getting $5,000 as a loan, and it was like a recoupable fee, that's not hard to do. Even for poor starving students, and I was a poor starving student, literally unable to purchase food at one point, and if you have something with that much value in it, you can find that money. Anyway, I'm fine with whatever price they set. I would lean towards the higher end, to be honest, and again, I don't have a ton of money, but it's like, so one of the big statistics that came out a little while ago was that 40% of the new games on Steam came out in 2016. That was tweeted by the guy who runs Steam Spy. And he tweeted a pie chart, and I also noticed something. Nobody's really talking about it, and I don't know why, but in 2015, that trend was also true. 40% of the games were new on Steam. It was actually a little bit higher. And the year before that, that was actually true. And it's actually been a 40% growth every single year since Greenlight was introduced. So it's like a totally crazy, out of control, exponential growth. However they curb that is fine with me. You set the standard, I'll just meet it. Next up, game development. So yeah, as mentioned, I have a company called Reclamation Games, and we're developing a video game. So I actually got a little bit more done than I thought. A ton of UI design and development, which is kind of a treat for me because I'm an interface designer, and so I enjoy that a bit more than probably most people. Just perusing fonts, it's like looking at pornography. I also set up localization. A couple of people asked me, hey Dave, will this game be available in, let's say it was German, and some people were like, I'm offering to localize it for you and everything, and we'll figure that out down the road. I'm just trying to get a game on PC, on Steam, in English to start. But the localization coding has been done now, so switching to other languages is actually relatively easy, to the point that even if it was never formally localized, you can just open the JSON file and anyone could translate it themselves if they had a text editor, and they could like refresh the game and they could see the changes appear dynamically. So it would be super easy to do at least a text translation, maybe not for voice acting and stuff, but that gate has been prepared. I've been working on combat and drawing inspiration from a lot of other games and just little tiny things. As I mentioned, I originally started with a 3-hit combo and I was like, that's good enough. It worked for Guacamelee, even though they had all these other moves you could seamlessly blend in. And so I've been working on like making the combo a little bit more elaborate and like a system where you could sort of weave things together based on movement. If you consider a game like Wind Waker, Zelda Wind Waker, so there's like a sword fighting tutorial at the beginning, and they're like, okay, if you push towards your opponent in attack, you'll do thrusts, and if you don't push any direction, you'll do slashes, and if you do this, you'll do these different types of strokes. And there's 3 different ways you can sword strike, but in practice in the game, no one really cares about that. Like, you have 3 other strategies, like to either use a reaction command, do like your big overhead slash, or just mash at them. Those are the 3 real strategies. So they put all this effort into like these different ways of mashing, and no one really frets the details because you're like pushing the analog towards your opponent most of the time. So you always like fall into one. Anyway, I didn't want to get caught up in a nonsense detail like that. But then, yeah, you have a game like Hyper Light Drifter also. It only has a 3-hit combo, and its depth comes from how you hang back and wait for a moment to strike. Like, that's what most good game feel like. Every fighting game has that. It always comes from waiting and then pouncing. So I was trying to come up with ways to do that, and then ways to have like the fluidity of comboing like you see in a game like Guacamelee, where you can pummel someone and then throw them up and then like uppercut to meet them in the air and then kick them sideways and then kick them down and then like headbutt them, and you could do this all in one fluid motion and like be traveling the map while you do it. Because I'm a big believer that mobility is going to be the secret to having good gameplay. Even if you consider a game like Mega Man, any Mega Man game, Mega Man, he does 1 pellet of damage, sometimes 2 with his shots. And the bad guys usually do like 8 if they touch him, or quite a bit more. And so even though you have a long-range weapon, the challenge is movement. It basically boils down to how you move around the space and understand what the enemy is doing and following their pattern and finding holes. And so the goal is like, how do we do that in this game? So I've been working on combat to try to refine that feel. Here's the short version. Anyway, all of this is possible because I have a YouTube channel and people like you watch it and support me through it. And because I have Patreon and people like you donate every month, just as a way of like supporting everything I do. It helps pay for equipment for recording and pay for games and pay for game development. And so if you are able to and are interested in supporting everything I'm trying to do with this channel and through Reclamation Games, you can kick in. And thank you so much, everybody. And I'll see you in the next Let's Play.